Welcome back to Start Here, Church Bulletins in Affinity Publisher. In our last lesson, we covered how to access Affinity Publisher as a nonprofit, what resources you'll need, and we took a quick tour of the essential tools and workspace. In this lesson, we're going to set up your church bulletin document step by step so that in Lesson 3, we can dive straight into the fun part, the actual design work. We'll start in the document setup box to take care of the basics. Then we'll create a couple of master pages and build a simple grid and guide system. This setup will save you time and keep your bulletin layout flexible for week-to-week changes. All right, here we go. We're back in Affinity Publisher, and we're going to begin by creating our document. To create a new document, go to the top of your screen and click File, New. For this demonstration, we will be using the US letter as our basis. Before we begin changing and adjusting the settings, there are a few things you'll want to keep in mind for your project. You'll want to think about your budget. This is particularly true if you are printing in-house, as there's costs like paper, ink, or if you're sending it out to have it printed at a printing facility. If you are sending it to a third-party printer that your church has contracted with that specializes in bulletin printing, it is very likely your bulletin is supported by advertisers. In that case, you may not have to think about budget, but you do have to think about the printer specifications that have been sent to you. For our demonstration, we are going to be thinking about it as if we are sending it off to one of those third-party bulletin specialty printers. Another thing you might want to consider is what is your final output? Is it digital, print, or both? And finally, you'll also want to consider your audience. In other words, the people in your pews, your local demographics, what kind of visuals appeal to your community, as that can vary between cultures and language and many other things. We're going to begin adjusting our document by starting over in the layout, since we already have our letter selected and it is in the correct orientation. You can switch orientation if that is needed, but generally speaking, you're going to want that regular letter up and down. We want to, our page width is great, our 11 inches is perfect. Our resolution is 300 dpi. 300 dpi, or dots per inch, is the minimum resolution for printed works. If your document is only going to appear online, you can lower your resolutions to 144. 72 used to be the recommendation before retina displays were common. 144 will ensure it looks good on retina display devices. Because we're doing US sizes, inches is what we're using as our document units. Image placement refers to how you want images brought into the document to be handled. Embedding your images will make a larger file size, but it's less likely that you will misplace your images. On the other hand, linking your images will give you a smaller overall size, but you risk losing images. For the purpose of creating a bulletin, my recommendation is to use Preferred Embedded as your default. Next, let's take a look at our pages. Facing pages is a layout type where it opens like a book, or how you would normally view your bulletin. For this demonstration, I'm going to have you uncheck facing pages. However, if you prefer to design that way, you can always change that at a later time once we've set up our master pages. The next setting we want to take a look at is our color. It's currently defaulted to a web-based color, but we want to make sure that it's ready for print. Let's change it. We have RGB 8, which is used for final output for web, social media, or screen viewing. RGB 16, RGB 32 are specialized, and they'll make your files significantly larger because there's more data being embedded. But again, we're working in print, so we want to make sure it's CMYK. Because we are already using the US letter size as the basis of our template, it is defaulting to US web color standards for the color profile. If you're in a different country, you may have different standards that you'll need to adjust for. Next, let's take a look at our margins. You're going to want to have some margins to give you a safe space for your content. Printers have a non-printable area even when they're professional grade. Please check with your printer for your specifications. For this demonstration, we're going to assume that 0.5 is the minimum margin standard. So we're first going to click on our link button here so that all the margins will be the same on all sides when we change it. And we can click any of these, and we're going to give half an inch, so 0.5, and enter. Now, all of the margins, as you can see in this preview right here, have changed to give us a half an inch margin on all sides. For our bulletin template, we're going to make some further adjustments to our margins so that we will have some intentional space for a banner area at the top, which is common in many bulletins, as well as a page number area at the bottom. And this way, it'll be safe within the required margins by our printer, but it will not interfere with our content zone. So next, we're going to click and unlink our margins. On the bottom, we're going to give ourselves 3/4 of an inch, so 0.75, so that we'll have enough space for numbers. And then at the top, we're going to give ourselves an inch. So 1, and enter. Next, we're going to briefly discuss bleed. Bleed is used when you're creating a document where the ink needs to go to the edge of the paper. That's not common in bulletins, and your printer probably does not allow it. But if you are doing custom work or creating another document and you're sending out to a printer that can handle that, that's what this is for. And you would follow their specifications. Since we will not have a bleed in this document, we do not need to change anything here. Now we are ready to create our document, so just take it and hit create. Now that we have our document, we're going to want to create our first master page. So we're going to take our mouse and click on the master page creation button. We're going to create 2 master pages for our template. The first is going to be for our interior pages, and the second will be for our cover. So the first one, for our interior pages, we don't need to make any changes to the master page from what we set up. So we're going to just click OK. We're going to click on our master page, so master page A. Next, we're going to add some columns and some rows to give ourselves some flexibility in the layout. So let's click View, Guides, we're going to give ourselves 12 columns, 12, enter, and 18 rows. The gutter, which is the space between each column and each row, is going to be 0.125. And then we're just going to hit enter, or we're going to hit enter, and then we're going to click close. The reason we gave ourselves 12 columns and 18 rows is because 12 column layouts are very commonly used in graphic design professionally, and the 18 rows works really well for the height of the paper and balances nicely with the 12 columns because they are both numbers divisible by 3. Next, we're going to add a few guides to show us where the margins belong and create that space for the numbers on the bottom and the banner at the top of the page. To add a guide, you need to go up to your rulers. If the rulers are not visible, you'll need to click on View and then click Show Text or Show Rulers. Ours are already visible, so we're not going to click any. To add our guides, we can just pull down and align it using the ruler. But what I like to do, and it's just a little easier for me, is to click on the rectangle tool using a margin that we already know is correct. Just create one from the edge of the paper and aligning it with the margin. Clicking our Move tool, holding Shift, and rotating it 90 degrees. Aligning it with the top of our paper real quick. And then we'll click on the ruler and pull down our guide. And then we'll take our shape to the bottom of the page, align it with the edge of the paper, pull down another ruler. We can now delete this object. I like to add a few more guides just to show me where everything aligns with each other. So 2 more from the top, and then 1 from the side, and 1 from the side. Next, let's add our page number by clicking the text frame tool. We're going to go down to the bottom of the page, create our text box in this little space that we created for ourselves. And then we're going to go Text, Insert, Fields, Page Number. And we now have a little page number placeholder here. I'm going to highlight over it, center it, and align it vertically in the center. This will make it so the page number looks great on every page of your bulletin, and it'll give a little bit of space from where your content area ends and your page number is seen. Next, let's add our banner space. We're going to just do a color block, so I'm going to I clicked the rectangle tool. I'm going to create a rectangle in the gutter. And what I did is I aligned that box right at the very top of the content margin. And I'm going to hold my Option key and make a copy. And then I'm going to align it with the top of where my banner will be. Pull it down so that it aligns with that other shape. I'm going to zoom in so I can see a little bit better. Clicking on my Move tool, going to select that smaller one which aligns with the gutter. Delete it. And now I have this nice little block that will serve for my banner text. If you know what you want to do with your banner, you can add a text box here. You know, you get to stylize the way you want it, and it'll be ready to go for you. So let's zoom out, so let's see where we're at. So here is our bulletin, interior bulletin page, and toggle off of all of our, we toggled off the guides and margins to see just what our page will look like without any content on it. Let's go ahead and toggle that back on and create our second master page. So we're going to go back, create a new master page, and because this will be for our cover, we are going to make some adjustments to our margins. So click here. We want it to be 0.5 on all sides, and we're going to click the link as we did when we were setting up, 0.5, enter, OK. And this will serve as our cover page so that it'll fill that space beautifully. Once again, we're going to add some guides. View, guides. We're going to go ahead and add 12, 18, and 0.125 again. And close. Even though the proportions of the cover page and the interior pages are slightly different because of the adjustments we made, the 12 by 18 and the 0.125 gutters work really well for your cover too, and especially if you're going to have some content down below, as many bulletins do, or on this, you just have a side strip. There's different ways to do your bulletin, but this gives you a nice layout for that flexibility if and when you need it. Before we jump into placing text and images, we're going to cover paragraph styles and some basic typography rules. Think of this as laying the foundation. It'll save you time and keep your bulletin looking consistent. Once we finish this step, we'll move straight into layout, colors, and images. This lesson will cover some basic best practices to keep in mind as you create your bulletin, and we will talk about the differences between a display text and a body text and when to use which. I'll give you some examples for pairing different fonts together and show you how to build paragraph styles. Typography is the craft of organizing letters and text to ensure the content is readable, easy to understand, and visually engaging for the audience, which is the basis for our best practices. Never go below 12-point size font. Small text is especially difficult for those with sight impediments. Limit the number of fonts used to 2. Too many different fonts make your bulletin feel cluttered and unorganized. To get variation, you will want to select a font that has a range of weights and styles built in, such as bold, regular, light, italics, etc. If your parish already has a brand guide that includes font choices and style rules, you can skip ahead to the brand guide section. The timestamp is down in the comments and here on the screen. For everyone else, let's continue by looking at display text and body text and how to pair them effectively. Display fonts are designed for short bursts of text and prioritize visual impact over long-form reading comfort. Their purpose is to grab attention and make a visual statement, often used for headlines, titles, large quotes, and cover text. Here on the screen, you will see 3 examples of display text. Body text is designed to be read comfortably in long passages such as paragraphs, articles, and books. These fonts are clear, consistent, and highly legible, avoiding excessive decoration. Both serif and sans serif options are common. On your screen, we have a few examples of body text. E.B. Garamond and Merriweather are considered serif fonts, and Open Sans is a sans serif font. When it comes to pairing fonts, there's a few things you want to keep in mind. Again, limit yourself to 2 fonts, one for the headlines and one for the copy. Use point size and weight for emphasis, not more fonts. For example, if you want something to stand out, make it bold, change the size, or change the color. Resist adding a 3rd font. Select fonts that are different but are harmonious. To do this, look for details that feel like they belong together, such as the shape of certain letters, especially the A or the G. You can also look at the X height, which is like the middle dotted line you remember from handwriting practice in school. It's where most lowercase letters like X or E sit. Think of it like a choir. Each font has a different voice, but together they create harmony rather than noise. Finally, be consistent from week to week. Once you've chosen your fonts, stick with them. Consistency builds recognition and gives your bulletin a polished and professional feel. This is the first font pairing example, Medulla 1 and E.B. Garamond. Medulla 1 is our display text, and E.B. Garamond is our body text. The tall, bold headlines and classic readable text create contrast while still feeling related. Playfair and Open Sans are our second example. Playfair is the display, and Open Sans is our body text. Playfair is elegant, and Open Sans is simple. Their matching proportions keep the mix balanced. Finally, our third example is Girasol and Merriweather. Girasol is our display font, and Merriweather is our body font. Girasol adds personality. Merriweather brings stability. Their hand-draw feel ties them together. This is the pairing we will be using in our demonstration. All of these fonts shown were from Google Fonts, a great resource to find decent fonts. Always be sure to review the licenses before using any font. In our bulletin document, we're going to set up 3 paragraph styles to save time and keep everything looking consistent. A paragraph style is like a preset for your text. Instead of manually choosing the font size and spacing every single time, you just click once and it applies everything for you. If you ever need to make a change, you update the style and it automatically updates everywhere it's used. We will create the 3 styles currently shown on your screen: a title, a headline, and a body text. These are already decided for this project, and I recommend figuring out which styles you'll need at the start, setting them up and saving them so your bulletin stays organized and easy to update from the beginning. We're going to create 3 different styles that we showed you a few moments ago. To begin, we're going to create a few text frames using the text frame tool. So we're going to click on that and we're going to create 4 boxes, 1 for each style and then 1 test box. And then I'm going to paste in some test copy for each box. I'm just going to pull them so that we can see all of the text, like so. We're going to begin with this one at the top, which will be our title. For this, we're going to change our font to Girasol, our pre-selected font. There is no other style here, so we know it's regular automatically. And we know that this one will be 24 points. Next, we want to check our alignment, which is to the left, and we want it to be centered in our text box, which it is selected to do so. We want to just check over the text itself to make sure that there is no interference between the spacing of the alignment, and it's looking pretty good, so we're just going to leave that as is. With it selected, we're going to click our text or paragraph style box. This control panel for your paragraph styles has a lot of different options and things that you can do. It's also what you will encounter if you ever need to edit the style that you have created out there. For our purposes, all we got to do is name our style and click OK. So we're going to call this style our title style. And click OK. And now you can see over here in our panel, our first style has appeared. And with our test box, we can click on it and you'll see there's no style currently selected, but as soon as I click it, it has now assumed that style. Let's do it again. For our second style, it is also going to be Girasol. There we go. And we know that this one is going to be a little bit smaller than our title text at 18 points. And the reason we're using a variation of points is to help give us some visual interest and draw attention to more and less important things. Again, we want to check our alignment is correct, so align to the left, and we want it centered vertically. So that is looking good. Again, check your lines just to be sure, and that's looking fine for this one as well. So we're going to go ahead and do it again, click our paragraph, and just simply name our style as the headline. Click OK. And again, we can click down here at the bottom. I'm going to click No Style so you can see what it'll default back to. And now we can see the headline style. But we can also just jump straight to whatever style we need. Finally, let's create our body style. We'll click on this one. This one's going to be Merriweather. And again, that is your body style is so we can use long bits of text. Merriweather is a font with a lot of different weights and options. Generally speaking, regular is a good one to set as a base. So we'll do that. We want this to be 12 points. we want this to be justified to the left is what we're going to do. And the reason we do that is, as you see, a justification brings it all the way to the end, which looks really nice and really professional for your large bodies of text. And different from the others, we want to make this align to the top. Just usually works easier that way. Now this is looking a little unclear to me, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom in just to get a better look. And just looking over this, we can see that we're probably going to run into some issues where our letters will start to interact and run into each other, like here. They're kind of running into each other, and that's really not a good thing for legibility and readability. So the easiest way to fix this, it's called opening up the leading, which is the space between the lines. So we're just going to click our Option key and hold our down arrow once and open it up a little bit, and that looks a lot better, and it's going to be a lot easier for your parishioners to read. And you can just check it even a little more thorough, just see how that looks. You can open it a little bit more if you want. We're going to stick with this for now, since this is just a demonstration. We're going to, just have it selected as needed. Click your paragraph, and then we're going to call this our body style. And click OK. Again, we can show you how that works down here in the test, and we will click our body style. But first, sometimes Affinity, you'll run into a problem where, as you can see here, it's still defaulting to the center alignment, as that's what it was just a moment ago. So we can just fix that easily by selecting it like that. So just watch out for things like that. Sometimes there's some unexpected things that occur. And with our paragraph styles created, all we just need to do is we'll delete these off of our master page here that we built them on. And we are ready to start building our document.